Yeah.
And next we have Phoenix. If only we had Yao here to enlighten us on his best Phoenix on BNet
Sadly, we only
skills.
have Fu, so you'll have to put up with him.
But anyway, with Phoenix against Terran and Zerg, I actually do like to go for the Void Sphere. It's AoE ability for farm, as well as Graviton Beam. I only really use Graviton Beam if they call it really out of position. A lot of Phoenixes try and push it. They try to just do it and maybe you'll take damage. No, every single Graviton Beam needs to be planned carefully, needs to be done carefully, otherwise it's completely wasted and you're
I'd like
showing
to
your
interject,
hand.
Fu, unless you have a Sentry on your own desert.
If it's a Sentry on mid, then just
Yeah.
pull them. On desert, yeah,
If you
yeah.
have a Sentry, just feel free.
If you have a DT, then it's all the more the
Hmm.
merrier. But anyway, against Terran and Zerg, also, basically, as soon as you have Fly enough for level 2 energy and Energy Nova, go to the double wave and just wipe them and fly back and keep going back and forth because you have such insane speed. With level 2 energy, you will be able to get 2 Novas off. And there's also a neat little trick with Phoenix. When you pick them up, pop your Overload, which is much like the Reaper's ult, except instead of not being able to control your hero, it's just afterwards you have much slower attack. So pick them up, use Overload, Void Sphere, and probably get a Soul Channel or whatever else you have in your inventory, and it's very good for hero killing if they're weak. But weaknesses for Phoenix, it has been very aptly named the paper airplane, but strengths, it's very versatile, very fast, good at creep clearing, good at pulling heroes. It's it's the nemesis for every slow hero in the
Yeah.
game.
Okay, so next we have the Reaver. I'll cover this one. Reaver I used to really, really hate, and a lot of people still do because, rightly so, it's very slow, and that's your major weakness. It is the slowest hero in the game, slower than Thor and Queen and all the other slow heroes. It's 1.5 speed. You might not even make it to a lane in time. But I would argue, why should you go to a lane unless you're on island? Reaver is actually a very good critter because of the fairly commonly known now fact that you can pull one critter at a time by just shooting scarabs at them, which means you can start killing critters right away. I'll go into more depth in that when we do a Reaver guide, but for now, just bear in mind that it is very good at crittering on pretty much any map but island. Don't waste your time on island, go to a lane. Okay, so with early game covered, you would want to go damage Super Scarab against critters, and then start getting capacity after your first level of damage. Against Terran and Zerg, you'd just go Super Scarab capacity. Against Toss, you go damage capacity. What your strengths are is that you have a ridiculous amount of burst damage. So if you can catch a hero, you do tons of damage with Reaver capacity, and you farm very well, so it works out quite well because you get level 5 weapons before anyone else. You'll have them, you'll go out, you'll start killing people. Now, you really need Warp Prism, and you really need to have good micro with that Warp Prism. So you can use it to basically blink dodge, except it's drop dodging, and just make sure to abuse the fact that you can keep producing them for your mobility. Now, the major weakness of Reaver is that you're very, very easily countered by someone who knows what they're doing. The Warp Prisms are pretty weak. If they figure out which one you're in, one stun will take care of that because it lasts twice as long on your Warp Prisms. And Reaver is very squishy itself, so dropping out of the Warp Prism to try to save yourself is a terrible idea as well. So basically, you just want to be very, very careful with your ganks as Reaver. So next, we have the Dark Zealot. This...
OP, don't no, close my ears. It's
yeah,
OP.
Fu is right. It's kind of OP.
OP.
It's kind of OP. Um,
Too many nightmares of being a High Templar against the DZ. Phase shift
too many
isn't
nightmares
effective.
about being a High Templar against any hero at all in the game. But,
I don't know. I'm good against the Filer and Queen to a lesser extent. Maybe.
okay.
I did beat a Lurker once, but
Okay.
just get on with it. I'm gonna go. I'm
So
gonna
DZ.
leave.
DZ is probably the best toss backdoor hero, better than DA, I would say, just because armies are much more easily countered than a Dark Zealot. So, Dark Zealot's primary skill is going to be Whirlwind, otherwise affectionately referred to on the forums as Gay Wind. The DZ early game, your choice is obvious. You always go Soul Drain because Soul Drain is really, really good. You drain people's health and you give it to yourself, and you take their energy. And in its current form, if you get level 3 Soul Drain, you actually make more energy than you lose casting it. So it's very, very spammable, does a lot of damage. You can poke people off the lane. Against Toss, it's ridiculous because you basically do double damage against everyone. Then you would want to also have Blink, because Blink is also very, very good for mobility. Basically, as soon as you get Whirlwind, you go to double lanes and you just start killing them off with Whirlwind, because that's really good. And then if you see heroes, you blink on top of them, Whirlwind, because it's still that good, and you just chase them around. If primary focus, you should get a couple levels of energy early game, but then after that just focus purely on attack with a little bit of armor thrown in just to make sure you don't die. Once you've gotten a good amount of once you've gotten all your items, and I would include Stasis Field in this, go back door. You can pretty much wipe 4 buildings without really breaking a sweat. It's very easy with Whirlwind if they're not expecting it. So that would be DZ.
Well, anyway, on from the OP hero to the next most OP hero, the Sentry, which is definitely OP enough to justify someone using the Zergling bug. We have Sentry with its OP Tickle Beam, 10 DPS with 5 range. It's got basically a spellcaster with a lot of energy, not very tanky at all, really squishy. Its abilities, Orb of Light is very, very good for clearing creep against Terran and Zerg. You want to go that for farm. Fun little fact, for 10 extra energy, if you hit Z, while the orb is still there, you can blink to wherever the orb is and explode it on spot. Its next ability is Force Fields, which is a charged-based ability that does not cost any energy. I would always give this a Sentry. It's one of the few things that makes Sentry a viable hero. It's great for creep blocking at certain points, keeping heroes out of your base, trapping people. If you do it right, you can completely trap people with Force Fields with only 3. Yeah. You can keep that spam. That's very hard to do. Normally, you want to go for 4. If you want to go lazy mode Sentry, you just get stasis them, and then surround.
Who is the ultimate lazy mode Sentry?
Chain Lightning is one you want to go against Protoss. It's good against heroes. It's a little 0.5 second stun, which can also help in getting those force fields up. It also does a good amount of damage. More damage overall to the Zealots, because it won't overkill at all. Late game, Sentry is just kind of bad. You want to take a more supportive role, as always. Auto cast Guardian Shield, which is not a terrible ult, but it's definitely lackluster. It's good for support. It's good for surviving, as is blinking away. I'd say against this Zergling Baneling bug, it's a must-have, but other than that, it's not very great. Weaknesses, it's easy to kill, and it's not very effective at most things, especially late game.
So, next we have the DT, which is one of the, yeah, it's Troll Hero. Yeah, I think they get the point. Basically, what Fu is trying to say is that DT is the ultimate dick. It's just so mean to play. Now,
it's such a dick that you can own your own team as well, like Ghost. To be honest, Ghost is DT's younger brother, and Swap is Blink's troll.
Yes, I've been swapped into kill zones before by certain people who wanted to escape.
Loveful is also notable.
But anyway,
if only we had
getting to the actual use of the hero, besides trolling your teammates, I'm sure that is very important. But I mean, I'm sure our viewers would like to hear other things. So, DT is pretty much a necessity. It's very, 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 very good at stunning and just basically screwing people up in a fight. It has 3 gank focused things, as Void Prison Swap and Vortex. Void Prison Swap is going to be your early game combo. You just pull people into your cannons, or even pull them into your creep, and just then stun them right there. They either take a lot of damage or they just die. And you also have 16 DPS, so if you walk up to them and hit them, they'll die faster. Then later game you would go invisibility. I personally like to wait on invisibility as much as possible, simply because detection is not that hard to get. So if they get it and you got invisibility, that's a still point you just wasted right there. It is good if early game, but you pretty much just want to wait until you can get perma invisibility before you actually start leveling it. Um, yeah.
5, 6, 7 invis is usually what I
5, 6, 7 is generally what I do as well. As far as getting your farm, you do exactly the same thing as a Stalker does. You sell all your stuff, buy energy and Nova, go to double lanes, and wipe them. That's where the invisibility comes in handy because they're not going to be there to respond at least the first time, if not more. So you get a lot of farm, then you go back, you buy attack, and then you start running around ganking heroes. You're also a very good support, but in pubs that often does not matter because it just doesn't work out that way a lot.
Yeah, and swap is just such a versatile skill. You can swap yourself out of danger with a creep. You can swap a teammate out of danger. You can swap enemies out of danger. You can troll your teammates. You can troll the enemy. And Vortex is also great for doing both of those. Think of Vortex as a really, really long stun. It's a really, really long stasis. So it's great for getaways. It's great for backdoor assistance because if there's 3 heroes all coming to stop one person backdooring, probably a DZ. Vortex 7, that's 12 more free seconds of backdooring.
Yeah, and in a
really,
team
really
fight, Vortex could also take half their team out of the fight instantly, which is huge.
Yep, so there's a lot of skill cap on these DT skills where so many of it, you can use it and it can actually just ruin your whole game, get you killed, get your team killed, or it can make the games win it for you.
So basically DT strengths, it does a lot of damage, and it has so many screwing, basically really, really cruel stuns and slows and swaps. So that's its strengths. Its weakness, it's pretty squishy, and it's melee.